What if I told you the most expensive military airlifter ever built somehow lost the most important airlift mission to a plane that is older than most of its pilots? The C-17 Globemaster III is a technological marvel. It can carry a 170,000-pound payload halfway around the world and land on a short runway. On paper, it should have made the C-130 Hercules obsolete decades ago, but the spec sheet lies. Operational reality tells a different story. The Hercules is not just surviving, it is thriving, with a production line that has been running since Eisenhower was president. So why cannot this $400 million super transport replace a 60-year-old design? The answer is not in the brochures. It is in the dirt, the cost sheets, and the brutal logic of wartime logistics. The C-130's job is not to be impressive. It is to work. And that is a mission the C-17 was never designed for. Here is the fundamental problem. We use one word, airlift, to describe two completely different jobs. The C-17 is a strategic airlifter. Its mission is inter-theater lift. That means moving massive amounts of equipment, tanks, helicopters, entire battalions, from the United States to major established air bases in a theater of war, like Ramstein Air Base in Germany. It is the transoceanic freighter. The C-130 is a tactical airlifter. Its mission is intra-theater lift. Once all that gear is at the big safe base, the C-130's job is the last-mile delivery. It takes those supplies from the major hub and flies them directly to the front lines, landing on dirt strips, gravel roads, or fields that have been bulldozed flat. This division creates a permanent, complementary role for the Hercules. Think of it this way. The C-17 is the container ship that brings your online order from China to the port of Los Angeles. The C-130 is the delivery truck that navigates your neighborhood's potholes to drop it on your doorstep. You would not send a container ship down a residential street, and you cannot use a delivery truck to cross the Pacific. They are built for different environments. The C-17 needs a long, paved, robust runway, the kind that can handle its immense weight and is not going to be cratered by enemy missiles. The C-130 is designed for the exact opposite, short, rough, unprepared surfaces. This is not a minor difference in capability. It is the difference between the highway and the off-road trail. And this leads to the C-17's first critical limitation, runway requirements. That so-called short runway for a C-17 is still over 3,000 feet of solid pavement. A C-130 can operate from a strip half that length, made of dirt or gravel. In a contested environment, those big fixed bases are priority targets. They are the first thing an enemy tries to destroy. A military that relies solely on strategic airlift has a single, fragile point of failure. Tactical airlift, by its nature, is distributed and survivable. You can create a dirt landing zone almost anywhere. That is why this mission profile divide is not just about distance, it is about survivability and flexibility. The C-130 ensures that even if the enemy knocks out the major airports, supplies can still get through to the troops who need them. But the runway is only part of the story. The real test is what happens when the plane touches down in the middle of nowhere. Austere is the military's polite way of saying a terrible place to put an airplane. We are talking about dirt, sand, gravel, snow, or a strip that has been hastily patched together after an attack. This is where the C-130's 60-year-old design becomes a massive advantage, not a liability. Its entire airframe is built around a simple, brilliant concept: survive the landing. The high wing design is the first key. It keeps the engines and propellers high off the ground, away from the rocks and debris that get kicked up on a dirt strip. That low-slung C-17 has engines practically sucking dirt off the runway. Foreign object damage, called FOD, is a constant, expensive threat. One rock can destroy a multi-million-dollar turbofan engine. The C-130's propellers just shrug it off. Then there is the landing gear. The Hercules does not have a delicate, complex suspension system. It has the aviation equivalent of a pickup truck's suspension, strong and simple, designed to absorb massive shocks. It can land with a literal bounce and keep going. The C-17's gear is engineered for precision on prepared surfaces. Hit a pothole on a dirt strip at the aircraft's weight limit, and you are looking at a structural nightmare. This ruggedness extends to the ground pressure. The C-130's weight is distributed over more tires, with lower pressure in pounds per square inch, meaning it does not sink into soft ground. The heavier C-17 has a much higher ground pressure. It is the difference between a mountain bike and a street bike trying to ride on a beach. One is built for it, the other is going to get stuck. But the real test is what happens after the engines shut down. Maintenance in the field is where complexity becomes your enemy. The C-130 is legendarily simple to work on. Its systems are mechanical and accessible. A crew chief with a basic toolkit can troubleshoot and fix a surprising number of issues right there on the line. The C-17 is a flying supercomputer. Its maintenance requires diagnostic laptop computers, specialized avionics technicians, and a supply chain for complex parts that you just do not have in a forward operating base. There is a famous story from a Pacific exercise where a C-130J had a minor cargo system fault. The flying crew chief reset the system with a laptop, and they were airborne again in an hour. A similar fault on a C-17 might have meant waiting days for a specialist and a part to be flown in. That is the difference between a sortie and a stranded asset. The C-130 has even evolved specific features for these harsh environments. It has a hotel mode that can feather the propellers on the ground to minimize the dust cloud it creates, a crucial capability for avoiding detection. You see this mastery in real-world operations every day. The Air Force's 109th Airlift Wing flies LC-130s with skis to resupply scientific bases in Greenland and Antarctica. They land on ice and snow where no other transport plane can go. In the Pacific, C-130s are the primary lifeline to islands with short, coral runways. In the desert, they operate from strips carved out of the sand. The C-17 can do amazing things, but it cannot do that. Its domain is the major airbase. The C-130's domain is everywhere else. And this ruggedness, this ability to operate from anywhere with minimal support, translates directly into the most important metric of all: cold hard cash and availability. Let's talk about the bottom line, because in the end, every military decision is a budget decision. The numbers do not lie, and they overwhelmingly favor the old bird. To keep a C-130J Super Hercules flying for 1 hour costs the Air Force about $14,000. To fly a C-17 for that same hour, you are looking at nearly $24,000. That is a 70% premium. Now, scale that up. The Air Force has 310 C-130s and about 220 C-17s. The operational cost difference for the entire fleet is staggering, but the hourly cost is just the entry fee. The real magic is in the sortie rate. Sortie rate is the true measure of an airlifter's effectiveness. It is not about how much one plane can carry in one trip. It is about how many trips the entire fleet can make in a day. This is where the C-130's simplicity and ruggedness pay off exponentially. A C-130 can land on a dirt strip, offload its cargo using its own built-in ramp and winch system, and be back in the air in 30 minutes. Its support footprint is tiny. It might need a fuel truck and a couple of crew chiefs. The C-17 requires a much larger team, more specialized equipment to handle its massive payload, and that precious, prepared runway. Its turnaround time is inherently longer, so while one C-17 might deliver a 170,000-pound tank in a single trip, 2 or 3 C-130s can make multiple round trips in the same time, delivering more total tonnage to multiple dispersed locations. In the chaotic, time-sensitive environment of a war, that flexibility and tempo are invaluable. It is the difference between delivering a knockout punch to one location and sustaining a distributed fight across an entire battlefield. The fleet size tells you everything you need to know about the workload. The Air Force needs more than 300 Hercules because the demand for tactical airlift is constant. They are the workhorses, flying the daily, grinding missions that keep the force supplied. The C-17s are the strategic reserve used for the big, infrequent moves. This is not a problem you can solve by just building more C-17s. Throwing a strategic airlifter that costs $400 million at a tactical problem is like using a sledgehammer to put in a finishing nail. It is the wrong tool for the job, and it is wildly inefficient. The C-17's complexity also means its supply chain is more fragile. It relies on advanced components from a single production line. The C-130's supply chain is a global, mature ecosystem. Parts are available everywhere because the plane has been in service for 60 years, with dozens of operators worldwide. If a C-130 breaks down in a remote location, there is a good chance you can find a part. If a C-17 breaks, you are probably waiting for a very specific, very expensive component from a depot in the United States. So the real question is not why the C-17 has not replaced the C-130. With such a perfect tool for the job, why would anyone even try? So, with all these advantages, what is the future? Is there a next-generation C-130 on the drawing board? The Air Force is always looking, with programs like NGAL, the Next Generation Airlifter. But here is the thing. Every attempt runs into the same fundamental physics problem. You cannot optimize a single airframe for both strategic and tactical lift. It is a compromise. You either get a plane that is too heavy and complex for dirt strips, or one that is too small and short-legged for global reach. Newer designs like the Embraer KC-390 are impressive, but they still face this core trade-off. They are trying to be a bit of both, and in doing so, they cannot master the austere mission like the Hercules. That's why replace is the wrong word. The C-130's ultimate strength is that it's a truck. It's a simple, dedicated tool for a specific, brutal job. In an age of complex, multi-role systems, there is an enduring value in that singular focus. The future isn't about finding a shiny new replacement. It's about evolution, continuously upgrading the C-130 platform with better engines, avionics, and systems, just like the J model. The airframe itself is a proven, unbeatable formula. Militaries will always need a truck that can go anywhere, and the C-130 is the Hilux of the skies. It just works. So the answer is simple. They're different tools for different jobs. The C-130's role is secured by physics, logistics, and economics. The most effective military tool isn't the most advanced. It's the one that works where and when you need it. If this breakdown of military reality made sense to you, hit subscribe for more.